The night was unbearably silent, a kind of silence where even the smallest movement felt like a scream. Emily Carter sat by the window, watching the rain. Each drop struck the glass as if someone were knocking softly, patiently on a door. Her phone rested in her hand, the screen dark. Some messages lose nothing by being read again and again, yet still fail to bring peace. "We should never have gone there," it was her last message. Behind her, in the dim room, Daniel Reeves stood quietly. He was looking at Emily, yet he wasn't truly seeing her. Another image filled his mind. The old house, the staircase, and that voice. "Emily," he whispered. Emily turned around. "Did you hear it too?" Daniel said nothing, because he had heard it as well. The house. The house stood at the edge of the city. Its name was Graham House. People said the house was empty, but the truth was, it was lonely. 20 years earlier, a family had lived there, Margaret Graham and her son, Lucas. One night, everything ended. No fire, no blood, no noise. By morning, the house was empty. And after that, whoever entered either never returned or returned as someone they were not before. The weight of memory. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. "Daniel, if I hadn't said we should go inside that day—" "It wasn't your fault," Daniel said immediately, though his voice did not fully believe the words. They had grown up together. When Emily laughed, Daniel felt the world was still in order, and when she fell silent, Daniel felt afraid. "That voice," Emily said, trembling, "it called my name, just like my mother used to." Daniel's heart sank. "It called my name too." The first step. Daniel still remembered that day clearly. The door of Graham House had opened on its own. Emily had laughed and said, "Look, it's welcoming us." Inside it was dark, but strangely warm, as if someone had been waiting for a very long time. The stairs creaked beneath their feet. Old family photographs lined the walls, faces intact, but eyes missing. Emily stopped walking. These pictures." Then a whisker came. "Emily." That was the first time Emily had cried. The mirror. Upstairs there was a mirror, large, old, perfectly clean. Emily looked into it and smiled faintly. "We look so tired." But Daniel saw something else. Behind Emily, a boy was standing, thin, pale, dark shadows beneath his eyes. He spoke softly. "Why did you leave me behind?" Daniel screamed, "Emily, don't look back!" The mirror shattered. A fragment of truth. After returning, Emily changed. She laughed less. She grew quieter. Sometimes, in her sleep, she whispered, "Lucas, I didn't leave you." Daniel understood then. The house had never been empty. It had been unfinished, and unfinished spirits are the most dangerous of all. The final moment of part 1. That same night, as the rain intensified, Emily suddenly grabbed Daniel's hand. "If he comes for me, will you let go of my hand?" Tears filled Daniel's eyes. "I will never leave you." At that moment, the lights went out, and in the darkness, the voice returned once more. "Daniel, now it's your turn." Darkness had filled the room, yet silence had not. That voice, no longer just a sound, kept echoing off the walls, as if the entire house were repeating the same name. "Daniel." Emily pressed both hands over her ears. Her body trembled, not from the cold, but from something buried deep in memory. Daniel pulled her close. "It's just a voice," he said, trying to convince himself. Just a voice. But his heart knew the truth. This voice was a memory, and memories are never just sounds. The first revelation. The next morning, Emily had a fever. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't truly seeing. When Daniel placed a damp cloth on her forehead, Emily's lips moved. Lucas was alone. Daniel froze. What did you say? Tears streamed from Emily's eyes. He was screaming, but no one came. For the first time, Daniel understood. This wasn't simply a ghost story. It was a child's pain, one that hadn't ended even after death. Lucas Graham. Daniel began searching through old library records. There was little written about Graham House, as if someone had deliberately erased everything. Then he found an old newspaper clipping. 9-year-old Lucas Graham mysteriously missing. Below the headline was a photograph, a thin boy, wide eyes, an incomplete smile resting on his lips. Daniel's heart sank. It was the same boy he had seen in the mirror. A mother's sin. In the same file, there was another name, Margaret Graham, mother. The research revealed that Margaret had been suffering from severe psychological stress, a single mother, financial struggles, and a child considered unusual. Lucas heard voices. He spoke to the walls. He was afraid of the dark. Margaret had asked for help, but no one listened. And then, one night, she closed the doors. The unfinished moment. Suddenly, Emily regained consciousness. She gripped Daniel's hand tightly. "I saw him," her voice broke, "when I was a child, outside that same house." Daniel stood frozen. "Why didn't you ever tell me?" Shame filled Emily's eyes. "Because that day, I left him alone. I heard the voice, but I was afraid." Silence fell. Lucas hadn't just died. He had been abandoned. The memory of the house. That same night, Graham House called to them again. The door opened. The air inside was cold, yet familiar. The walls now clearly displayed photographs, pictures of Lucas, sometimes smiling, sometimes crying. Emily's breath grew heavy. "This is all because of me." Then a sound came from the stairs. Footsteps. Small, slow footsteps. The encounter. The boy stood before them. Lucas. He didn't look frightening anymore. Just tired. He looked at Emily and said, "You came, but you didn't stay." Emily collapsed to the floor. "I was afraid. Please forgive me." Moisture filled Lucas's eyes. "I'm still afraid." Daniel stepped forward and said, "We won't leave you alone anymore." For the first time, Lucas tried to smile, but at that very moment, the entire house began to shake. The true threat. A scream rose from the walls. Margaret's. "He belongs to me." The air filled with rage, with possession, with a mother's madness that had not died even after death. Lucas stepped back. "She won't let me go." Emily pulled Lucas into her arms. "This time, I won't run away." End of part 2. Graham House closed its doors. This was no longer a time for memories. It was a time for decisions. And Daniel realized this wasn't only Emily's battle, it was his as well. Because some promises are not fulfilled by living, but by sacrifice. The doors of Graham House had closed, not with wood or iron, but with memories. The walls of the room began to breathe, slowly. From beneath the floor came low, muffled sounds, as if someone had been crying for a very long time and was finally exhausted. Emily held Lucas tightly. Her hands trembled, yet her grip did not loosen. "I'm here," she whispered. "This time, I'm really here." Lucas closed his eyes. "She's angry. She was always angry." Margaret's return. The air suddenly grew heavy. The temperature dropped, as if the house itself were turning cold. And then she appeared. Margaret Graham. She wasn't screaming like a ghost. There were no wounds on her face. She looked like an ordinary woman, except for the stubbornness in her eyes, the kind that survives even after death. "Who do you think you are, touching my son?" Her voice carried little tenderness and far more possession. Daniel stepped between her and Emily. "We've come to set him free." Margaret laughed. not a sound meant for the ears, but one that struck the spine. "Free? What do you know about freedom? I saved him from the world." The weight of truth. Lucas's voice trembled. "You locked the doors, Mom." Margaret's expression changed. "Because the world was cruel. They called you mad. They were afraid of you." Tears streamed down Emily's face. "But you left him alone." For a moment, Margaret fell silent. There was a crack in that silence, and through it the truth seeped out. "I was tired." Her voice faded. "I was only a mother, and I failed." Daniel's decision. The house began to shake. Photographs fell from the walls, each picture a memory, each memory a wound. Daniel suddenly understood. This house was not the prison of a single spirit. It was a cage made of unfinished decisions. He took a deep breath and said, "Let Lucas go, Margaret, or this house will imprison you both forever." Fear entered Margaret's eyes, the kind only a mother knows, the fear of losing her child. "If he goes, what will I be left with?" Emily looked at Margaret for the first time, not with hatred, but with pain. "You'll still be a mother, just not one who turns love into punishment." The price of sacrifice. Lucas suddenly released Emily's hand. "If he leaves, she'll be alone." Emily nodded. "Sometimes even a mother has to learn that letting go is love." Daniel felt it then. This moment would not favor anyone. Something had to be sacrificed. Cracks spread across the ceiling. Light poured in, natural, warm, real. Margaret screamed, "No!" And in that moment, Lucas stepped towards his mother and gently embraced her. "I'm not angry with you," he said. "I'm just tired." Silence. Everything stopped. The air, the voices, the walls. Margaret's form began to fade. Tears ran down her face. "Please forgive me." Her final words. Lucas looked at Emily, smiled, fully this time, and dissolved into the light. After the storm. Graham House was empty, truly empty. The doors opened. The air returned to normal. Emily sank to the floor. She wasn't crying, she was breathing. Daniel held her. "We saved him." Emily nodded. "And maybe ourselves too." But the story was not yet over, because as they stepped outside, Emily felt it. Someone else had also been set free. Far away, among the shadows of the trees, a gaze watched them, and in the air there was a new whisper. This one did not belong to Lucas. After the doors of Graham House closed, the silence was no longer ordinary. It was the kind of silence that had already spoken, and was now waiting for an answer. Emily and Daniel walked slowly back along the forest path. The rain had stopped, but the dampness remained in the soil, just as it remained in the heart. Emily kept looking over her shoulder, not because of a sound, not because of movement, but because of a feeling. "What is it?" Daniel asked. Emily stopped and said, "I feel like something isn't over yet." Daniel admitted it silently to himself. He felt it too. The first change. The next day, Emily woke late. When she opened her eyes, her heartbeat was racing. The room was familiar, but the mirror was not. The mirror that always hung on the wall was gone. Emily sat up suddenly. She remembered all at once. In Graham House, mirrors were the first to reveal the truth. At that very moment, she heard breathing behind her. "Daniel?" No answer came, but in the glass, she saw her own reflection move a fraction of a second too late. Dream or memory? Emily no longer wanted to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, the same images returned. Lucas's smile, Margaret's tears, and then a door that had never fully closed. She called Daniel. "I think something is happening to me." He arrived immediately. Emily's face was pale, yet her eyes held a strange glow. "Do you hear them too? The voices?" she asked softly. Daniel's expression grew serious. "No." Emily lowered her head. "Then the problem is only me." The shadow. That evening, Emily saw the shadow for the first time. It did not have a single form. Sometimes a child, sometimes a woman, sometimes nothing but darkness. It wasn't behind her, it was with her. Standing before the mirror, Emily asked, "Who are you?" Fog gathered on the glass, and on the mist, finger marks appeared. "We." Emily's breath caught in her throat. Daniel's fear. What frightened Daniel most was Emily's silence. She didn't laugh, she didn't cry, she only thought. One night, Daniel saw her walking in her sleep. Her eyes were open, but they weren't seeing. She murmured, "Not everyone has been set free." Daniel shook her awake. Emily opened her eyes and immediately said, "If they didn't all leave, then someone has to stay." "What are you saying?" Daniel's voice broke. Emily looked at him closely for the first time, as if the decision had already been made. The true truth. The next day, Emily confessed everything. "Lucas wasn't alone," she said. "He was only the first." She explained that Graham House was not just the story of one family. It was a refuge for children drawn there by fear, loneliness, or neglect. "They're all still somewhere," Emily whispered. Fear filled Daniel's eyes. "And now?" Emily placed her hand on her chest. "Now they're inside me." Understanding the cost. Daniel finally understood why all of this had happened to Emily. She was the only one who had truly seen Lucas, heard him, and felt guilt for leaving. She was the only one whose heart had enough room for many unfinished souls to take shelter. "This isn't your responsibility," Daniel said. "We can find another way." Emily smiled, a smile that carried farewell within it. "Some paths," she said softly, "are not found, they are chosen." The night promise. That night, Emily held Daniel's hand. "If I change, if I'm no longer who you know," Daniel pulled her into his arms, "then I'll learn to recognize you again." There were tears in his eyes, but his voice was steady. Outside, the wind grew stronger, and the shadows along the walls began to stretch. End of part 4. Far away, where Graham House once stood, the ground trembled slightly, and Emily felt it. To end all of this, she would have to return there. But this time, not alone. This time, as the door itself. The night was deep, but not dark. Graham House stood before them once again. The same, yet different now. The door was not closed. It stood open, as if waiting. Emily paused for a moment. Inside her was a noise, children's whispers, unfinished prayers, and a fear that no one had listened to for years. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand. "We can still go back." Emily shook her head. "No, if anyone goes back now, it won't be me." The world within. As soon as they stepped inside, the house did not shut its doors. The house was breathing. The walls no longer felt old, but soft, like skin. There was a heartbeat beneath the floor. Emily closed her eyes. She felt them all. Lucas, the children whose names were never spoken, the mothers who were afraid, and the moments when everyone thought someone else will come, but no one ever did. The true door. In the central room, the mirror was there again, whole, clear, silent. This time, there was no shadow in the mirror, only Emily, and behind her, countless eyes, children's eyes. Daniel's heart sank. What is this?" Emily whispered. "This is the door, and I am the key." "No," Daniel cried. "You can't do this." For the first time, Emily smiled. "I'm not alone." What sacrifice means. The house began to tremble. The light went out. Only the mirror glowed. Emily stepped toward it. With every step, the voices inside her grew quieter, as if they knew they were finally being heard. "If I stay here," Emily said, "they will all be able to leave." Tears streamed down Daniel's face. "And what about me?" Emily turned to him. "You will remember. That will be enough." Daniel's last defiance. Daniel grabbed her hand. "Then I'll stay too." Emily gasped. "No, you must live. Tell someone this story." "A story?" Daniel laughed through his tears. "You are my life." Emily placed her hand on her forehead, and for the first time, the house fell silent. "You are my hope," she said softly, "and hope is not meant to die." The final moment. Light spread across the mirror. One by one, children's faces softened into peace. Lucas appeared one last time. He looked at Emily and said only one word: "Thank you." Then everything disappeared. Emily looked at Daniel for the last time. There was no fear in her eyes, only calm. "Close the door," she whispered, and stepped into the mirror. After silence, a blinding light, then complete quiet. The house shuddered and became still. The doors opened. The walls were empty. The floor cold. Daniel sank to the ground. In his hand was Emily's ring, the only thing that came back. Graham House was now just a house, empty, truly empty. Years later, people say no one goes there anymore, and those who do return saying, "There is peace there." Daniel still goes sometimes. He doesn't speak, he just sits. And when the wind stirs, it feels as if someone is softly saying, "We're okay." The final line. Some stories do not end, they simply become silent forever, inside one heart. And this story was for Emily, who became the door so that no one else would ever be alone.